Hey everyone, it's Anthony here. Hope everyone is doing well on this Sunday. So, as promised, live, uh, live editing. This is my first time doing this on Twitch. I seem to have a chat room, so if you want to chip in, just send me a message. But we're going to do some editing. You're going to get a sneak preview into our Season 19 retrospective as I start the process. And I'm going to be taking this from the very beginning, so it's not all going to be strictly editing the episode. You're also going to see how I prepare the episode for editing right from the beginning. So, with that, I am going to make myself a lot smaller. And you can see the program that we use here, which is called Reaper. I have a pre-built template in here that has a number of different channels. So you can see we've got our opening theme, we've got space for our samples to go, we've got where our closing goes at the end, our outro, and then crucially our isolated vocal tracks, as well as where our Zoom master goes. So the first thing I'm going to do is just expand everyone's individual channels so that I can have a good view of them, as well as the Zoom master. Now, the really nice thing about Reaper is how easy it is to use. You can just kind of drag things forward and backwards, and because of some effects I'm going to be doing in a minute, I'm just going to pull our opening theme backwards so that it doesn't accidentally get clipped in a short amount of time. Alright, so first thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to import our Zoom master. Should this be willing to play nicely. So I've got a folder for the Season 19 retrospective, and in goes our Zoom master, and Reaper does its thing. And the reason this goes in here is this is going to be what I use to sync everyone's individual vocal tracks up. So we do a master recording using Zoom, but everyone also records their own vocal tracks locally, so that we can sync it up and have the best audio quality possible. So I should have a moment here where everyone says they're recording, which I think should be around here. Let's take a look.
And recording.
Recording.
Alright. Perfect. The next thing I'm going to do is add in my own vocal track. And of course, Reaper's doing its things, it imports it. And here we go. So we've got me, I'm looking a little louder, and just to make this easier to see and compare the waveforms, I'm actually going to take the Zoom master and down mix it to mono, like the isolated tracks. Alright, let me zoom in. So you can see this isn't quite on sync, so I'm just going to drag this across. And what this should sound like is there shouldn't be an echo if I've done this right.
And it's that time again.
I'm Diana.
Okay. Yeah, I normally use where we all voice off and introduce ourselves as the syncing moments. So this is where it should be all not echoey. So again.
Hello and welcome back to Watchers in the...
That's good enough. I'm happy with that. So I'm going to mute my track, and the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in Diana. So insert Diana, and her track is syncing, and Reaper's doing its thing as it imports it. Okay. So just looking at this, this is where she says, I'm Diana. Just going to zoom in. You can see I haven't quite put this in at the right place. This is over me, so let me move her track over just a smidge. Okay. Should be about there. Let's see how that sounds.
I'm Diana.
Perfect. So we're going to mute Diana next. And then next we're going to bring in Julie. So same process, just import her track. So that will take a couple of seconds to come through. Alright, and there's Julie. So we are once again going to go to the beginning, zoom in, and this one's a little closer than I was with Diana's track, but it's still a little off, so again we're just going to slide that on over, and all things being equal,
I'm Julie.
Perfect. And then last but not least, we are going to bring in Riley's track. Alright, so Riley's track has been added, and again, just need to make sure that it's in the right spot. Riley saying recording. Here we go. So just bring this back just a little bit. This looks pretty close. Let's see how that sounds.
And I'm Riley.
For some reason, Riley's track I often have difficulty syncing it up exactly, and I've never quite been able to figure out why. Just put Julie on mute. Let's bring him up so I can get a little closer. Zoom in just a little bit more. I think. Okay. Let's try that.
And I'm Riley.
So those who know me know that I'm a little bit of a perfectionist, and where I struggle with this is sometimes with some of these I have to say, you know what, that's good enough. And that might be what I end up doing here.
And I'm Riley.
Let's see. Let's try that.
And I'm Riley.
Still slightly off. Very frustrating.
And I'm Riley.
Okay, this is going to be one of those good enough moments. So, because we don't actually use the Zoom master, what I'm going to do next is just remove it. And then we do a couple of little extra things, really just to make sure that everything sounds as good as possible. We have a few effects that we use for that. So I'm going to unmute my own track, and what you'll see here is I say something like "moment of silence, please."
Perfect. Moment of silence, please.
So what this does is this gives effectively on everyone's vocal tracks the sound of the room. So every room has a little bit of background noise, whether it's the whirring of an air conditioning unit, other kind of ambient noise. If you live close to a main road, you might occasionally hear the hum of traffic. So we have a tool called, it's a plugin, it's called Reefer, R-E-A-F-I-R. And what we can do with that is, firstly, let me make sure, okay, I've got this on loop. I can automatically build the noise profile, and this is what we would call the sound of the room. And then when I stop that, if I go a little further ahead, what you'll see is the various frequencies of my own vocal track will be way outside of that, so it won't impact my vocal track. Let's take a look at that.
All right, and we will go ahead and get started in 3, 2...
So that filters out that room noise while keeping my own voice intact. And so what we'll do next, actually before we do that, we have a couple of other things. So we use an EQ tool, and this is really to make sure that our voices sound as good as possible. It adds a little extra bass or takes away a little treble, depending on how each person's recording is. This is something that Don configured for us long before he passed, when he was really figuring out how we were going to be doing all of this, and we've really just kind of kept it as is. Regate is a noise gate, so kind of low sounds quiet sounds, but sounds that aren't really part of the podcast, it automatically cuts those out. And then Recomp, again, is just another tool that makes everyone's voice sound just a little bit better. Again, one we've been using really since the beginning, and it is quite effective. So what I did with Reefer on my own track, I'm going to repeat with each of my co-hosts. So we'll do this for Diana. And what you'll see here is if you were to compare the two, each of our frequencies here that it's filtering out are a little different because our rooms sound different. So now that's run a couple of times, I turn that off. I make sure it hasn't impacted Diana's voice.
I'm Diana.
There you go. And then we will repeat the same for Julie. Generally what you see here is Julie has... Oh, that's a little anomalous. So what we're going to do is just move that forward a bit and try and cut that out. A little bit further. Huh. Okay. For some reason, Julie's getting this little spike. I wonder what's causing that. We will see if that's impacting her sound. I hope not. Let's just run that again. Right, and we will stop and just come over here, listen to a little of her track.
I've tried. Anthony, I've tried.
Alright, so Julie's still sounding good. So that little anomaly in her frequency for Reefer is absolutely fine. And then we'll once again do the same for Riley. And once again, we just let it run a couple of times. And there we go. That will do. Okay, so we have removed the noise of the room. I have all 4 tracks synced. The next thing is to look at levels. So we all look a little loud here. So what I'm going to do is I can bring down the level for an entire track using this little knob. So bring myself down. That's what it should look like. Diana's actually about right. Julie's a little loud in places, as is Riley. So let's bring those all down a bit. Those all look roughly equal, and if any of them are louder than others, we can fix it as we go along. So not a huge deal. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to turn on ripple edit. So that's this here, which means any edit made will be made across all tracks. So if I was to cut something like this space here, it would cut it in all 4. And the reason I'm turning this on is because I'm about to use a couple of tools that help us cut out the dead air and really make sure everything compresses together in a way. So let me drag this back. Actually, we would normally start this from where I give the intro.
Hello and welcome.
So let me cut out all of this and get that to the show start. Next thing I'm going to do is make sure that all 4 tracks are highlighted, and this usually takes a couple of minutes, so bear with me as I do this. So in actions, there's something called trim split, parentheses, remove silence. I have all of the presettings done for this, so it does it nice and easily. And then I just hit process. And while that's working, that will just be a couple of minutes. If anyone wants to chit chat while this is doing what it does, put messages in the chat. I've got a second screen here. Thanks, Kieran. Yeah, so on that note, one of the things we discussed when we were standing up this podcast, and something Don really hammered home for us, was that we are making a show. This isn't just 4 people getting on the phone and having a chat. We are making something that other people are going to listen to. So for us, having good sound quality is important. We all have pretty good microphone settings and setups. So it's been a big thing for us, and we have a little bit of a technical hitch on Arc of Infinity that means I've actually started editing them out of sequence, and Arc of Infinity I'm about a third of the way through, because that one's going to require a lot more work, and candidly it's not going to sound quite as good as usual. So we're really putting in more time and effort into that one to make it sound better. And hey Diana, you're very silly. I know you. You've edited for us before. Come on. Alright, as I said, this takes a few minutes to really work its magic. You'll see what it does when it's finished. Yeah, so effectively, Kieran, there were some issues with my isolated vocal track that means it's unusable. And so I'm actually having to use the Zoom Master for my vocal track, but the problem is it's the Zoom Master, so it encompasses everyone's vocal tracks as well, so I'm having to do a lot more editing to cut out other people's pieces, make sure that there's not too much echo. It's just turning into a huge pain in the ass, and is going to take me probably about 3 times as long as it would normally take me to edit an episode of Watchers. So a little bit of a nightmare. Okay, this has finished doing its thing, so you can see what it's done is where other people are not talking, it's cut out the pieces of their track while maintaining everything in its rightful place, so it hasn't compressed it together. This does mean that there are times, you can see one here, where there's just dead air. So we use a second tool, and just to illustrate this, I'll show you. We are currently sitting at 1 hour and 33 minutes, which is actually a very long episode for us. If I zoom out, the next thing I do is I go back into my action list, and there is a plugin that we paid for by someone called Xrame, and what it will let us do is we can multiply the gaps between percents, so we pick 5%, and it will squish everything together. So if I do that, so you can see everything moved, but again there's not a lot of overlap, so it's still keeping everyone speaking where they should be, and that's brought us down by almost 10 minutes. That's 10 minutes of dead air that we've just cut out, which makes our live editing a lot easier. Yeah, Kieran, I thought about doing that. I think that would work probably for the behind the scenes information, but I think fundamentally because we're so conversational, I worry that that would sound artificial. So I've taken the option to just try and make the Zoom recording usable for Arc, and we'll make of it what we can. Alright, so we've synced everything up, we've run our various effects, we've compressed it to cut out all of the dead air, which means I can now go ahead and start editing. And the first thing I'm going to do is just drag this back to where it should be, which is here. And then also I have the outro here, which I'm going to move, oh, I lost it, to the very end, just so that when I get to the hour mark it doesn't suddenly kick in and I'm going, what the hell? And I like to have that placed so that the drums, which start here, kick in just as I'm wrapping up. So let's see.
Thank you so very much for listening, and of course, until next time, have a good one.
Perfect. Alright, so back to the beginning. So normally this is stuff that I do for everyone else. So if Julie or Riley or Diana are editing, this is this is the state they receive the files in when they start editing. So there's this pre-work that initially Don did, and then when we lost Don, part of why we were on a 6-month hiatus beyond just mourning him was I had to reverse engineer how he did all of this. So, Diana, yes, also not drunk. That does make it easier. So, anyone who, if you can't see the stream chat, Diana said On the Rocks was all done in one room and our tracks overlapped constantly. To be fair, we were drunk. I never thought that recording cross-country would actually make editing easier. Also not drunk. Our first few episodes of Watchers, me, Riley, and Julie all tended to be imbibing until it got to a point where Don turned round and said, "You all have to stop. You're just a nightmare to edit, and this is making it really hard to do, so please, no drinking while recording." Alright, so this is what everyone else will receive, and yeah, I spent about 6 months reverse engineering how Don did all of this. So, I can start right from the beginning here, and let's just listen to how all of this intro sounds.
Hello and welcome back to Watchers in the Fourth Dimension. I'm Anthony.
I'm Diana.
I'm Julie.
And I'm Riley.
And it's that time again.
Alright, so these aren't quite as snappy as I would like them to be, so what I'm going to do is just pull everything back a little bit. Just bring them a little close together. And then let's see how this sounds.
Dimension. I'm Anthony.
I'm Diana.
I'm Julie.
And I'm Riley.
And it's that time again.
All
we
right.
have reached...
That's much better. I did notice there's a little bit of extra noise that came from my breathing at the end of that, so I'm just going to add a little fade out to that, which should filter that out.
Watchers in the Fourth Dimension. I'm Anthony.
I'm Diana.
I'm Julie.
And I'm Riley.
And it's that time again. We have reached the end of yet another season, so that means it's time for our Season 19 retrospective. As usual, we will be approaching...
So, as I mentioned, one of the things I'm very, very cognizant of is that we are making a show. And we want that to sound as good as possible, and I have certain OCDs. Julie's just called it out in the chat that I breathe so much. I'll try to stop breathing, Julie, if that will make you happier. But part of that is I have a really sensitive microphone that picks up almost everything. So... but again, there are some breaths here, or some audible breaths here, so I'll cut that out. The other thing about making this a show for consumption is that naturally when people speak, we have weird pauses where perhaps we're thinking as we're speaking, we stutter, we all and ah occasionally, we repeat words as a stutter. Some of us, I think myself, Diana, and Riley will do it, kind of stop in the middle of a sentence and start with something else. And that can lead to a fairly disjointed conversation. So we try to fix that as we're doing this post-production work. So you'll see me do that as we go along. So, okay, I've fixed that, and let's see.
Season 19 retrospective. As usual, we will be approaching...
I cut out a little bit of that word, so let me pull that back. Let's see how that
Season
sounds.
19 retrospective. As usual, we will be approaching this with our award-style categories, followed by a roundup...
There's another audible breath. Let me take that one out.
Award-style categories, followed by a roundup...
And then bring this back just a little
Our
bit.
award-style categories, followed by a roundup of our various... Award-style categories, followed by a roundup... Our award-style categories, followed by a roundup of our various scores and metrics, before taking some...
Diana said in the chat, I wish I thought before I spoke, thus the disjointed convo. Yeah, I think that's part of the problem, that at least two of us on the podcast are diagnosed neurodivergent, so we tend to do that and not necessarily think before we speak, or even, certainly with me and my ADHD, sometimes my brain is moving a lot faster than my mouth, and I sort of moved on to my next point before I even finish making the one I'm on. Okay, so let's see how this is sounding right now.
Of our various scores and metrics before taking some questions from you, dear listeners, solicited through our...
Okay. There's something a bit weird going on with this. I'm just gonna... Okay, let's see.
You, dear listeners, solicited through our social media platforms. We're not doing any mail this episode.
Alright, so you've got my effective intro. Normally, if we were doing a story, we would move from that into the mail. We would normally do mail in the season retrospective, but when we took a little break earlier because I had computer issues, we went through a period where we weren't publishing episodes and we kind of got through all the mail that we had. So this one and I think Arc of Infinity don't have mail, so this is where I'm just talking about that.
We're not doing any mail this episode as we're recording this as we come out of our technology-driven hiatus. We're actually fully caught up on mail right now, but we do love getting your
little bit of a breath there, let me cut that out.
Right now. But we do love getting your feedback, thoughts, comments, and questions, and we do try...
Yep, there's another breath there. So this part for me is normally scripted. So I have a script that I read to give the information after the mail, which is all of our socials and how much we love hearing from you, just because it's something we do every time. I occasionally ad-lib it a little bit, so you'll hear me change it up, but there is a basic format for this part, which is why it sounds very fluent.
And we do try to read out as many as possible on the show. So please do get in touch. You can contact us.
The other interesting thing going on with this recording is as I was bringing my recording rig back to my house from my girlfriend's place, because when I had computer issues, I was using her laptop to actually record the show so that we could keep producing. I knocked one of the dials on the unit, and you can hear some of my S's sound a little bit clipped. Most people aren't going to notice that. Unfortunately, that's the kind of thing that drives me absolutely insane.
Get in touch. You can contact us through Facebook and Instagram at @Watchers4D, or you can email...
A little bit of a breath there, so let's take that out.
4D, or you can email us at watchers4d@gmail.com. Additionally,
So when I take breaths and the like out, what you'll see is I will pull it back so that there's a space, but without an actual audible breath. It sounds really weird if you leave the same amount of space in. So what I will do is I will pull everything back just a little bit so that there's the impression that there's a breath there, because there was, but it doesn't sound like it lingers just a bit too long.
gmail.com. Additionally, as always, we would absolutely love it if you subscribe to the podcast, if you're not doing so.
Okay, so again, just do the same thing there.
The podcast, if you're not doing so.
I cut out the T a little bit, let's see.
The podcast, if you're not doing so.
There we go, that sounds better. So what you'll notice is as I make edits, I always go back and listen to the edit that I've done, just so this is actually, I can make sure that it has turned out the way I think it will, and I haven't accidentally taken something out that should be in there, or occasionally where we cut out ums and ahs, we almost go from like an in directly into a word. So if we're trying to remove that, which we often do, we have to go back and listen to it a few times in order to make sure that it actually sounds kind of natural. And if it doesn't, then I will go back and leave the or the r or the stuttered word in there.
You're not doing so already. And if you drop...
There's another breath. So pull that back.
You're not doing so already. And if you dropped us a review or rating on your podcast platform of choice. And so with that, we are going to dive straight in to our award categories. As usual,
All right. So again, on a regular episode, this is where we would then have behind the scenes. This is where we would then have our short summary. But because this is the retrospective, we don't have any of that. So we go straight from where the mail should have been but wasn't in this case into the meat of the episode.
As usual, we will answer in reverse alphabetical order. So Riley goes first, followed by Julie, Then
All right, so that's a little less flowy than I would like it to be. So let me just pull that back.
alphabetical order. So Riley goes first, followed by Julie, then Diana,
Okay,
and then
there's
finally
a
myself.
breath. So let me take that out.
Followed by Julie, then Diana, and then finally
All right, let me just make that sound snappier as well.
Julie, then Diana, and then finally myself. So, first up, we have the best and worst stories. And our
That's a little quieter than I would like, so I'm going to split this particular piece so that I can just make this a little bit louder. You can see the waveform, the size of it increases, and that lets me kind of do this.
we have the best and worst stories.
There
And
we
our
go.
nominations this season are Castrovalva, Four to Doomsday, Kinder, The Visitation, Black Orchid, Earthshock, and Time Flight. Riley,
That last one was a little quiet, so let me fix that as well.
Rock, and Time Flight. Right.
Hang on.
Four to Doomsday, Kinder, The Visitation, Black Orchid, Earthshock, and Time Flight. Riley, over to you.
Well, the best to me is no question.
So, again, you can kind of hear Riley exhaling here, so let me just do a little magic on that.
You.
Well, the best to me is no question. It's Earthshock. Actual character depth, supporting characters that are actually interesting, strong action and suspense, and of course, strong action
So, again, some more breathing here, so let's take that out.
are actually interesting, strong action and suspense, and of course, one of the most somber Who endings of all time.
Okay. It's a little bit of a pause, so I'm just going to pull this back and make it sound a little bit snappier.
Somber Who endings of all
we go.
time so far. Worst is
Yeah, I'm going to leave that as is.
so far. Worst is, this might be a bit controversial, Kinda. I know that may come as a
So you can hear Riley kind of clicked his teeth or his tongue there. So again, take that out, pull that back.
Kinda. I know that may
Ooh.
come as a surprise, but I really didn't care for Hindel's descent into madness. The setup is
Okay,
very cliche.
It's Riley breathing again. So, and for anyone listening, you've just heard our first controversy in Riley declaring Kinder to be the worst story of season 19.
Hindel's descent into madness. The setup is very cliched. Colonizers versus native.
Right. Yep, here's a little bit of a stutter, so we're going to split this and just pull it back. And when you see me do this, I have various hotkeys set up, so I can hit S and it will split the segment of the track, which then means I can edit it really, really easily.
Is very cliched. Colonizers versus natives. Nissa was side.
There's some more breathing. Also, this doesn't sound quite right to me, so I'm just going to play around with this and see how that sounds.
Is very cliched. Colonizers versus.
Okay, let's see. I think this could work. Let's take a look. Nice thing is I can always Control Z and just undo what I've done.
The setup is very cliched. Colonizers versus natives. Nissa was sidelined, and the weirdness that it showed just really wasn't that weird enough for me. Also the
Okay, here's an so we're going to take that out. Pull this back.
just really wasn't that weird enough for me. Also the group dynamic of the charters.
A little bit of a weird pause. So again, just make this a little more fluent and flowing.
Also the group dynamic of the TARDIS crew was probably at best a level of just mutual. Crew was probably at best a level.
Okay. So again, you hear Riley stumbling a little bit here, so we're going to just clean this up a bit.
At best a level of.
So
It's probably
So yeah, he stops at, stumbles, and then comes back to best here. So I'm going to pull this back, move this, and then hopefully this should sound good.
Group dynamic of the TARDIS crew was probably at best a level of just
Yeah, good
mutual
enough.
disdain. So not one I really.
Okay, there's a breath, so we can take that out.
Mutual disdain. So not one I really cared for.
There we
That was
go.
unexpected. All right. I imagine we'll get some hate mail for that. Julie.
Still expecting the hate mail, but we have a couple of weeks reprieve before we get that.
Hate mail for that. Julie, over to you.
Well, you have one opinion. Okay.
All right.
I have one opinion.
Gonna make that louder. That was a little quiet from Julie.
Well, you have one opinion. Okay. I'll say the best.
Beardo, I see you asking, will I be able to watch this later? I got a short ton of errands to run. Yes, I am recording this, and I might have a little cleanup to do to the start and end of this. But my intent is to put this on YouTube, on our YouTube page, so you should be able to come back and watch this. I'm probably going to be going for another hour-ish, hour and 20 minutes maybe. I haven't quite decided. We'll see until maybe when my Adderall starts to wear off. Alright, let's take a look at this again.
You have one opinion. Okay. I'll say the...
Okay. The okay here I think is unnecessary, so we're gonna have this go from Julie saying you have one opinion into her little laugh, and then she's gonna start her piece.
Well, you have one opinion. I'll say the best...
Alright, there's breath that I don't like, so let's take that out, pull this back.
One opinion. I'll say the best story...
Fade out's a little too aggressive.
I'll say the best story, I believe, is also Earthshock. Much of the same opinion that Riley just gave. I do want to... I do want to give a shout out to Black Orchid, because I think Black Orchid is very good. It's tight-knit, and I really, really enjoy the time periodness of it. But Earthshock does take the cake.
Another breath, so let me take that one out. Julie's a little quiet in this section, so again, I'm going to split that, just raise the volume a little bit.
Black Orchid is very good. It's tight-knit, and I really, really... Orchid, because I
still have the repeat on. So
and I really, really enjoy the time periodness of it, but Earthshock does take...
That's also a little quiet. Let's bump that one up too.
But Earthshock does take the cake there. And worst story...
Okay. There's just a little bit of a pause there, so just let's make that a little more fluent.
And worst story, it's for to Doomsday.
Okay.
Story, it's for to... It's for to...
Alright, so got some cleanup to do on this piece. Again, you can hear a little bit of a stutter, and we want this to be as fluent as possible.
Story, it's for to...
So that should start with the it's.
It's for to do... For to do...
Okay, so I'm really slicing and dicing this to try and make this as fluent as possible. And again, the one thing I'll emphasize here is we all do this. We all stutter occasionally. We all stumble over our words. We all add in filler words. It's certainly nothing to be ashamed about, but it's, again, because we're making a show, we want this all to be as fluent and as flowing as possible. And yes, Julie, you do hear a little bit of Bandit in there. I've noticed from when I've been recording at Christina's, occasionally I get a little bit of Pinky or Willow in my backing track as well. But yes, occasionally our animals make little guest appearances in the background with some barking. Riley and Diana both have cats, and so they're slightly less vocal on our audio recordings. All right.
It's for to Doomsday.
Yeah.
Do I have to explain that one all?
Okay. This might be unnecessary, so let me put that on mute and just see how it sounds without it.
For to Doomsday. Do I have to...
Okay. I actually don't like the noise Julie's making here, so I'm going to pull that out.
It's for to Doomsday. Do I have to explain that one all that much?
Okay, yeah, I think that sounds a little bit better.
It's for to Doomsday. Do I have to explain? It's for to Doomsday. Do I have to explain that one all that much?
No, you
it's
don't.
for to Doomsday.
All right, Diana, what have you got?
All right, that's a little bit of an unnecessary from me, so we're going to take that out. Pull that back.
All right, Diana, what have you got?
Diana's got some weird noise here. I think that's probably the sound of a chair creaking, but again, doesn't sound that great, so I'm going to pull it out. And the nice thing about how we do this is we generally all have fairly decent editorial discretion on this. So the way we do this is one person will edit, someone else will then QA that work, and, you know, try and catch anything like breaths and so on. But where we cut out various bits of dialogue and so on and so forth, we don't go back and question that. If something is kept in or taken out, that really is up to the discretion of the director. So, alright, Diana's going to talk about her favourite and least favourites of season 19. Let's hear it.
All right, Diana, what have you got?
So,
Okay, there is a tongue click, so we're going to start by taking that out.
And what have you got?
my best is not going.
Okay, here's a little stutter, so we're going to take that one out too.
So, my best is not going to change anything here.
Okay, and again, a little bit of a pause. Let's make that flow a bit better.
My best is not going to change anything here because it's also Earthshock.
Okay, there's a very audible breath, so we'll take that out.
Also Earthshock. Again.
Let's make that.
Shock. Again. The same reason.
There's another breath. Let's pull that out.
Again. The same reasons everybody else has said.
Let's just make this all flow.
Again. The same reasons everybody else has said. But
There's another breath. Pull that out. Okay.
everybody else has said. But I also think that it's.
Here's a big so we'll pull that out as well. Pull this back.
But I also think that it's the first time that the TARDIS crew.
Okay.
TARDIS crew.
There's a little click there. We'll pull that one out
The
too.
first time that the TARDIS crew liked each other.
Again, let's just make this flow just a little bit better.
That the TARDIS crew liked each other. And we had enough of that kind of.
That is unnecessary. It distracts from the conversation, so I'm going to put that on mute and pull it out.
Crew
effectively.
liked each other. And we had enough of that kind of a growth with a simple enough story.
Okay. So again,
Enough
just
of that kind of a growth with a simple enough story that it really.
Okay, here's another Pull that back.
Simple enough story that it really let us feel. That it really let us feel within the story, which I think is what the whole season was missing, which is why that it really let us feel within the story, which I think is what the whole season was missing, which is.
Okay. So this is what I was talking about earlier. I think this is an that then merges into another word.
Which is why.
There we go. Which. So I'm going to see if I can cut that out without making the next word sound awful. If we can't, then we'll undo that and just leave it in.
Which is why.
Okay, so let's see how that sounds.
Which I think is what the whole season was missing, which is why
There we go.
the worst story.
That one does actually sound okay. Sometimes it just doesn't when you try and do that.
Which is why the worst story for.
Let's pull that back.
Which is why the worst story for me is Castrovalva. Because it starts.
Again, here's a unnecessary interjection from Riley, just as I had with myself with an aha or an so let's mute that and pull everything else back.
Story for me is Castrovalva because it starts it off with a bang.
All right. So again, just making this all flow a little bit
It starts
better.
it off with a bang in the sense that nobody likes each other. Nobody's getting along.
Okay, there's a breath. We're going to pull that out. We're going to just compress this again.
That nobody likes each other. Nobody's getting along. You don't get any time.
There's another one. Take that out.
Nobody's getting along. You don't get any time with the characters. Everybody's sidelined at some point or another. It's
Okay, there's another deep breath. We'll pull that out too. Okay,
point or another. It's too complicated of. It's too complicated
there's a stutter, so we'll pull that out.
at some point or another. It's too complicated of a story when we're trying to start off a new season, a new doctor, a new companion. It's just
Okay.
doctor, a new companion. it's just not a good story for maybe I not a good story for maybe I would have liked it somewhere else in the season. Probably not.
Okay.
Complicated of a story when we're trying to start off a new season, a new doctor, a new companion. It's just not a good story for maybe I would have liked it somewhere else in the season.
All right. So here's what I was talking about earlier, and I'm just as guilty of this. Riley does it. Julie does it very, very occasionally, but much less than the three of us. And this is where, in this particular case, Diana, mid-sentence, cuts herself off and starts talking about something else. So, what we're going to do here is just clean this up as best as possible. So I'm going to take a listen through and then just see if this makes more sense if I just cut this piece entirely.
It's too complicated of a story when we're trying to start off a new season, a new doctor, a new companion. It's just not a good story for maybe I would have liked it somewhere else in the season. Probably not, because it wasn't like super great, but especially being...
Okay, yep, so that piece can just be pulled out. So that's what we're going to do. Bring this all back, and then this will flow a lot more nicely. And again, as I said on a few occasions, what we are doing here is we are making a show. So the important thing is that this sounds as good as possible, the dialogue flows, and so where any of us do that, we try to clean it up so that the dialogue then flows a lot better.
A new doctor, a new companion. Maybe I would have liked it.
A little bit of a stutter, so let's pull that out as well.
Maybe I would have liked it somewhere else in the season. Probably not, because it wasn't like super great, but...
All right. And Diana's just a little bit quiet here, so I'm just going to isolate this particular piece, amp up the volume. Actually, this part here is particularly quiet, so I'm going to do the same again. And let's see how that sounds.
Maybe I would have liked it somewhere else in the season. Probably not, because it wasn't like super great, but...
Much better. And we're going to cut out that audible breath. Diana, I see your chat. The way I'm committing every recording crime in my first bit, it was also Anthony would have good examples for this stream. I hope you're not feeling victimized here, Diana. This really is stuff that we all do. Riley does it, I do it. As I said, Julie's a little bit better, but that's because she's a goody two-shoes. Her crimes tend to be more ums and ahs than anything else, as I and ah my way through editing. Okay, let's see how this sounds.
But especially being the kickoff for the season.
Okay.
Kickoff for the season. Being the start,
Okay.
the kickoff for...
All right. So, the start, the kickoff, let's just change that to just the kickoff.
But especially being the kickoff for the season, it was bad.
Go. All right.
The kickoff for the season, it was bad.
Yeah. Hard to disagree.
It was bad.
Yeah.
Okay. Again, a little bit of a stutter there. Let's pull that out.
Bad.
Yeah. Hard to disagree. All right. So for me...
Okay. So let's amp that up.
Bad.
Yeah. Hard to disagree. All right. So for me...
Okay. So, a couple of filler words here. Here's an all right. So we're just going to pull that out. We're also going to pull out that so. It's unnecessary. It doesn't add anything. It's just filler.
For me, I'm going to make this a clean sweep.
All right.
I'm going to make this a clean...
Little bit of a stutter there from me.
I'm going to make this a clean...
That sounds a lot better. So, let's pull that together.
For me, I'm going to make this a clean sweep. The best story is clearly Earthshock. In addition to the character...
Okay, here's an Take that out. And some of this we're just going to amp up the volume a little bit. And again here.
Clean sweep. The best story is clearly Earthshock. In addition to the characterization...
Okay, let's have a bit more of a gap
sweep.
there.
The best story is clearly Earthshock. In addition to the characterization... I want to call out the...
That sounded a little bit more natural. Here's another breath that I'm going to cut out.
In addition to the characterization, I want to call out the tension throughout that story. The way tension is built in that first...
Here we go.
I want to call out the tension throughout that story. The way tension is built in that. The way tension is built in that first episode, and then
Okay.
in that first episode, and then just maintained the whole way through is just masterful. I think that's really what brings
So
it up.
again,
Brings it up to the top.
I'm a little
I
bit
think
quiet
that's
here.
really.
So I'm trying to split this. Nope. Why is my keyboard being difficult? There we go. That's better. Just amp that up a little bit. And again, I think this section could stand to be a little louder too. So,
in that first episode, and then just maintained the whole way through is just masterful. I think.
All right, let's also make that flow just a little bit better.
Through is just masterful. I think that.
Okay, that's a little too aggressive.
Through is just masterful. I think that's
Better.
really what brings it up to the top of the pile for me. As Diana said,
All right, so
the pile for me. As Diana said, we finally have a TARDIS crew that actually gets along and likes each other, except for, the petulant argument between.
all right, here's a you know. You know is another filler word that we all tend to use a lot. I don't think it's just us on Watchers. I think it's really permeated, certainly American culture. I remember taking a work call once, probably about 12 years ago, with a potential supplier, and the sales rep had a terrible reputation for punctuating almost every other word with a you know. And I sat there and took a tally of how many times he said you know over the course of a 30-minute meeting, because I'm an asshole, and it was over 100 times. And I went, wow, okay, I need to try and be more vigilant of that. And here you get me not being more vigilant of that. So anyway, let me cut that out.
TARDIS crew that actually gets along and likes each other, except for the petulant argument between Adric and the Doctor at the very beginning. But by
Again, I'm going to just amp up the volume a little on
Doctor
this.
at the very beginning, but by the middle they.
Okay.
But by the middle they.
All right. So again, here I've got a little bit of a stutter. Julie, you say both I mean and you know, and your third one is like. Those are your big vocal tics. Again, everyone has vocal tics. It's interesting to see who has what. Alright, so let's take a listen and see if I can clean this up.
By the middle they've made up.
Alright, so let's take that by, bring this back.
The very beginning, but by the middle they've made up, and
Better.
we've got a TARDIS crew that's.
Here's a you know again. Alright, let's take that one out. Pull this back a bit. Okay.
The middle they've made up and got a TARDIS crew that's actually working together, and then they kill.
Okay.
And got a TARDIS crew that's actually working together, and then they kill Adric. So just as we're getting there, it's like, let's.
Alright, I'm just going to pull this back and just make this flow a little bit better.
And then they kill Adric. So just as we're getting there, it's like, let's take one of them out. Boom, done. Which in itself.
Okay, here's another So take that out.
Boom, done. Which in itself is pretty.
Alright, I think I'm about to stutter here. Let's listen.
Itself is pretty hard hit.
There we go. Alright.
Pretty hard.
Alright. And again, we're just going to up the volume a little.
Which in itself is a pretty hard hit. The worst for me, I'm.
Okay. So again, you can hear me stutter here a little bit again. So
Hard hit.
let's try and clean
The
that
worst
up.
for me, I made my.
You hear it? Okay.
I made my.
Let's see if we can make this sound decent. Maybe not. This one might be not fixable.
The worst for me, I made my.
Okay. That actually doesn't sound bad. We will keep it like that.
The worst for me, I made my.
Okay. That's a repetition, so we'll pull that out. So, Diana, if you're still there and you are feeling victimized, you are watching me really slice and dice and butcher my own vocal track here to try and take out all of my filler and my stutters.
For me, I made my displeasure at it known at the time. I think it's the lowest story, the lowest rating I've ever given. I think it's the lowest
All right. Again, stuttering a bit here.
It's the lowest story, the lowest rating I've ever given.
All right. So I think it's the lowest story, pause, the lowest rated. So this piece is unnecessary. We'll pull that out. Bring this back.
I think it's the lowest rating I've ever given. I think it's the lowest rating I've ever given a story.
Oh boy, that does not sound natural. So we might need to leave that in, even though I don't like it. I don't like it.
It's the lowest story, the lowest rating I've ever given a story. I think it's the lowest story, the lowest rating I've ever given.
Actually, I wonder if I can have, I think it's the lowest, and cut out story, and then come back to rated. Let's take a look. Let's see.
Rating I've ever given.
Let's see how this sounds.
I think it's the lowest rating I've ever given a story.
There we go. That's actually much better.
I think it's the lowest rating I've ever given a story.
Okay, let me just see if I can clean that up just a smidge.
I think it's the lowest rating I've ever given a story, and that's 4 to Doomsday.
Okay, let me just level this out a bit. Some of this is a bit quiet.
And that's 4 to Doomsday. And that's 4 to Doomsday. It's not good. It's not good.
Alright, it's not good. Let's make that, it's just not good. And we're going to do a little splitting here of the tracks. Okay. Have to zoom in to get the volume dials here. Okay, let's see how that sounds.
Doomsday. It's just not good. I can't come up with a lot.
Alright. Gonna take out that from Diana. Okay, let's just clean this up a bit.
Good. I can't come up with a lot that is redeeming to it. With a lot that is redeeming to it. So.
Alright, so again, just a couple of areas where we could be a smidge louder, so we're going to increase the volume on those.
With a lot that is redeeming to it. So I'm not even going to try and go beyond that. So just.
Alright.
I'm not even going to try and go beyond that. So just, I agree with Julie. I agree with Julie. Next up, we have best moments.
Alright, so that is best and worst story of the season done. At this point, because I'm about 5 minutes into the edit and I have had situations where my laptop or Reaper has crashed and I have lost some work, what I'm going to do is go ahead and save this. Not as Arc of Infinity. This will be the Season 19 Retro. So this will be Season 19, Episode 8. S19 Retro. So this is now saved so that if we do lose any progress, everything we've done so far is there, and we don't have to worry about losing too much work, particularly all of the setup at the beginning with the syncing and the cutting out the dead air and the various effects being added to make it sound a bit better.
I agree with Julie.
Now, what you've just heard, anyone who follows us for a while knows that our episode titles are taken from something that gets said in the episode. I'm pretty certain that Julie might advocate for I agree with Julie as an episode title, but as the director, I'm going to veto that one.
I agree with Julie. Next up, we have best moments and worst moments, and this can be anything from over the course of...
Right, let's just make this a little more fluent and flowing.
Anything from over the course of the season. So
that could do with being a little louder, as could that.
course of the season. So Riley, over to you.
Best moment for
All right, so best moment and worst moment. Let's hear what Riley has to say.
Best moment for me was when the entire gang finally appeared to be enjoying.
All right, little bit of a stutter there from Riley. Okay.
And finally appeared to be enjoying being around one another.
All right.
To be enjoying being around one another, and that was at the party in Black Orchid. Up until
So, funny thing I happen to know about Riley for this is on our season retrospectives, Riley is probably a little more scripted than the rest of us. He has gone through, he's collected his thoughts, and he at least has some notes. I think for a lot of this, I might have already chosen my best and worst stories going into it, but I probably haven't written notes. I probably am saying what I'm saying relatively off the cuff. But Riley, we're going to have less stuttering, less gold blooming than we would in a regular episode, because he is generally a bit more meticulous on these season retrospectives.
Black Orchid. Up until then, I feel like they all wanted to stab each other. Worst moment.
Okay. So this doesn't quite work because of the way it's recorded. So let me just take out that chuckle, see how it sounds.
Until then, I feel like they all wanted to stab each other. Worst moment would be the reveal that Khalid was the master.
All right. Again.
Moment would be the reveal that Khalid was the master. I don't like this master. I don't want the master.
What's funny is Riley is so done with the Tremas master. So done. And I've got to be honest, at this point, he hasn't been great.
I don't like this master. I don't want the master in every other episode unless it's Delgado. Introduction of.
He wants Delgado back. Does anyone want to tell him?
This Delgado. The introduction of the master took a premise in Time Flight which could have gone almost anywhere. And
all right, let's tighten this up just a bit. Okay.
A premise in Time Flight which could have gone almost anywhere, and then because the master's on it, and it sets it on a very.
All right, again, we have a little bit of a stutter here. Let's see if we can clean this up.
Because the master's on it, and it
on it,
and it on it, and it
okay, let's
on it, and it.
All right, so let's see how this sounds.
Because the master's in it, it sets it on a very.
This is one of those ones where it's not perfect, but I'm going to say good enough because I think it sounds better without that stutter than with it, even if it is just a smidge unnatural.
Because the master's in it, it sets it on a very predictable chord.
All right. Again, he's a little bit quieter on this section, so I'm just going to bump that up a bit.
On a very predictable course. So that is the worst moment to me.
All right, Julie, I know you're going to have like 7 for each of these. What have you got?
I've tried.
So here I am calling out Julie on her habit of not being able to decide on things for these season retrospectives. So, Julie, sorry, I love you.
I know you're going to have like 7 for each of these. What have you got?
I've tried.
Okay, this is still a little quiet. Let's amp that up.
Julie, I know you're going to have like 7 for each of these. What have you got?
I've tried.
All right, let's cut that stutter out.
What have you got?
I've tried. Anthony, I've tried. Well, first,
Okay.
I've tried. Well, first I said, I probably shouldn't say Adric dying, should I?
And here's Julie trolling Diana.
No, but that's really not a best moment, other than the fact that it's
Okay.
best moment, other than the fact that it's one of the first really meaningful companion deaths that we've had in companion deaths that we've had.
Okay, so again, just going to clear this up a bit. Clean it up.
Companion deaths that we've had
There we go.
in Doctor Who. And
I'm going to see if this will flow a little better if I do this as well.
companion deaths that we've had in Doctor Who.
There we go.
And that in and of itself just leans a lot of weight into how.
So, Julie, I see you in the chat that you think you Goldblum more in retros than in normal episodes. I think that's a function of, in the retros, you have a lot more kind of dedicated time, which gives you more time to get in your own head than if you're just having a conversation effectively. So, understandable. All right, let's go back and see where we were before I actually started talking to Julie instead.
Just leans a lot of weight into how dark I think J&T wanted to go.
All right. So again, let's just make this flow just a smidge better.
A lot of weight into how dark I think J&T wanted to go with Doctor Who.
All right, so let's see how that sounds.
J&T wanted to go with Doctor Who.
Okay.
But
here is a breath and an so let's take that out and pull this back.
But really, I think one of my other pieces was Tegan.
Here's an we'll pull that one out too. And bump up the volume just a smidge.
I think one of my other pieces was Tegan under the Mara's control in Kinda. She acted that.
All right, we are going to take out these vocal agreements again. They don't add anything. It's so hard to not do it when you're in the middle of conversation because you want to agree with the person that you're listening to. I mean, you can see I do it, Diana's doing it, elsewhere Riley's doing it. The joy of recording how we record is we can just cut them out, and but then Julie is able to have her voice heard in the podcast episode without interjection, without someone else talking over her and drawing the listener's ear away from what she's saying. This is why we do it this way.
Again, under the Mara's control in Kinda.
Okay, let's see.
Under the Mara's control in Kinda.
All right. Here we go.
She acted that beautifully, and I was mad at beautifully, and
okay, I'm gonna pull that back.
Acted that beautifully, and I was mad that it didn't last longer, and that's my problem.
All right, and so we are once again just going to,
and that's my probably favorite moment. Worst moment.
All right, so pull that back. There's a little vocal sound that I don't like, and we're going to amp up some of the volume here.
That's my probably favorite moment. Worst moment.
Okay, here's an very easy to cut out.
Worst moment is similar to Riley's, but it's really the death. Worst moment is similar to Riley's, but it's
okay, let's see if we can make this a little more fluent.
Similar to Riley's, but it's
Good
really
enough.
the death scene of Kali.
Okay, Riley's laugh here I want to keep in, but it's a little loud and drowns Julie out. So again, I'm going to just reduce the volume on it so that it's still there, but it's a little less prominent.
Death scene of Kali.
Let's actually take it a little lower than that. Okay.
Scene of Kali.
There we go.
It's unnecessary.
All right. And then again, let's make this all a little more fluent.
It's unnecessarily gross and just really weird because obviously it's like, what is happening right now?
All right, here's a little bit of a stutter. So again, we're just going to pull that out, bring that closer together, and bump up that volume.
Really weird because obviously it's like, what is happening right now? And then, oh, great, it's the master. So kind of those things combined. And I would also...
All right, and again, cut out that breath and just increase the volume a little here. Just have that nice level of consistency.
Oh, and then, oh, great, it's the master. So kind of those things combined. And I would also say...
Okay, pull that closer
And I would
together.
also say that potentially some of the misuse of some of the ethnic characters in...
Okay, and again, just going to bump up the volume here. Part of the problem, and we all do it, you'll see it on my waveform, you'll see it on Diana's, you'll see it on Riley's. Staying a consistent distance from your microphone is really difficult to do. And of course, as we all move, as we're talking, we might have some notes up on another screen or on a tablet or in written form. As you kind of look at notes, or maybe you stop and you take a drink, you move away from the microphone, and getting back into the same position is difficult. So what happens is we all have our various vocal lines vary in volume. And the good news is we can then fix that as we're doing production.
Potentially some of the misuse of some of the ethnic characters.
Okay, I'm going to take out that little pause
The
there.
misuse of some of the ethnic characters in
And just bring that forward a little bit.
in Fort of Doomsday. Wasn't as bad as it could.
Alright. So I like... So that first one, definite vocal tick, removing that.
It wasn't as bad as it
What I like here is Julie starts to say it wasn't, but then she stops herself and goes into wasn't without the it. So I'm going to try and merge these two together and see how it sounds. So I think if I split it about here, this might not work, and I might have to keep that little stutter in. Sometimes it be like that.
It wasn't as bad as it could
And what
have
do you know?
been.
That sounds great. We're going to keep that in. And again, just this little section here. Going to amp up the volume
Bad as
there.
it could have been, but I think they
And bring that back.
missed the mark with some of them in what they could have done with some of the Greek characters.
Okay. Not a huge amount I want to change here, aside from volume levels. So I'm just going to do that for these two.
With some of them in what they could have done with some of the Greek characters.
There's a tiny little stutter there. I'm going to take that out, pull this forward.
Done with some of the Greek characters and some of the other characters.
Yeah, bright side though, at least they actually got actors of the right ethnicity to play them.
All right. So I'm a little quiet here. So I'm just going to...
Yeah, bright side though.
And I'm going to get rid of that. Yeah, that's an affirmation that's not needed.
Though, at least they actually got
Going to bump up the volume a little on that.
They actually got actors of the right ethnicity to play them.
It's true. It is.
Okay. And we're going to pull that to the end so that Diana and I aren't speaking over each
Of
other.
the right ethnicity to play them.
Okay. And we're going to just bump that up in volume. We're going to bump that up in volume.
Of the right ethnicity to play them.
There we go.
It's true. It is very true.
All right. And here we have Julie repeating herself. So again, we're just going to pull that out and move this back.
It's true.
All right, Diana. Best and worst moment.
So this might
My vocal track is actually a little quieter than I want it to be. What is going on with it? Okay. I think across the board, I'm just gonna amp this up a bit, see how that sounds.
Diana, best and worst moment.
Okay, that's
so
better.
this might come as a shock based on what Julie just said, but hands down, the best moment is Adric's death.
Shocker, Diana appreciates Adric being killed. Let's just amp up again.
But hands
volume.
down, the best moment is Adric's death.
Now, see,
Okay, we're going to take out that
now, see, I thought everyone. Now, see, I thought everyone would think I was going to pick. Would think I was going to pick that. I thought everyone would think I was.
Okay.
Would think
So,
that.
Riley's getting a little excited here. You can hear it, and so I'm going to play with this and see if I can get this sounding, again, just a little more fluent and a little better flowing.
Now, see, I thought everyone would think I was going to.
Okay, let's try.
Now, see, I thought everyone would think I was going to pick that. Kind of thing would be too obvious, but no, it's
No.
much.
All right. I'm gonna listen
I thought
again.
everyone would think I was going to pick that. Kind of thing would be too obvious, but no, it's
No.
much more of a shock for you.
All right.
It's
No.
much more of a shock for you to pick it, though. I like it. Shock for you to pick it, though. I like it.
Well, and one of the reasons I like it is because I think I've kind of established that
Okay. Again, I'm not entirely happy with the volume here, although it is better than some places. So I'm just going to amp that up just a smidge.
And one of the reasons I like it is because I think I've kind of established that I don't necessarily need my...
Okay. Again, just move things a little closer together, get it sounding a bit more fluid.
I don't necessarily need my characters to be actually like good people all the time.
Okay.
Necessarily need my characters to be actually like good people all the time.
So there's a like in here, which is one of the vocal tics that we have called out. Both Julie and Diana tend to use that more than Riley and I, but we do use it. But this kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier. I can see from the waveform here, I'm not going to be able to split that out, at least not in a way that sounds good. So while our goal in editing is to minimize the filler words as much as possible, there are places where we just won't be able to get rid of them. This is one of them, so I'm going to keep it in here because it's going to sound better with that filler word than to have a very awkward cut there.
Actually like good people all the time. And as much...
Okay, there's an let's take that out.
People all the time. And as much as...
Needs a little bit more of a break.
People all the time. And as much as, you know, I know that Adric...
There we go. Here's a So this one looks like I can pull it out. So what that should do is just go back there, move this forward, and let's see.
Much as I know that Adric has got some issues. That...
All right, and again, we're getting some volume issues here, so I'm going to do a couple of splits and just bump that up.
As I know that Adric has got some issues. That last...
Okay, and there's a breath, so we'll take that one out. And I think this could do with just being a little louder as well.
As I know that Adric has got some issues. That last, especially the whole arc in Earth the Talk, where they really kind of... As much as I know that Adric has really like good people all the time. And as much as I know that Adric has got some issues. That last, especially the whole arc in...
Okay, so again, this is a little gold blooming, so I'm going to try and slice and dice and clean it up so it sounds, again, just a bit more fluent.
Much as I know that Adric has got some issues, especially the whole arc in Earth the Talk, where they really...
Alright, so the way Diana said Earthshock here sounds a bit odd. Again, we will stumble on words occasionally, I do it. But if we can clean it up as we're doing the editing, we do. So I'm going to try, and if it doesn't sound good, then we're going to leave it in as it was.
Earth Talk, where they...
Alright, so this right now sounds like Earthshock. Let's see if I can take out that extra syllable that shouldn't be there.
Earth Talk, where they really...
Maybe I can't in this case. Let's see.
Earth Talk, where they really... Earth Talk, where they really...
Nope, that's going to sound terrible. So, in this case, that's something that I'm just going to undo. I'm still going to take this little pause out and make it seem like more of a word.
Earth Talk, where they really kind of dial back...
Okay.
They really kind of dial back down into who his character was supposed to be at the beginning, the teenage.
Right. And then again, we've got a breath here, so we're just going to pull that out. We're also going to bump up the volume right here, and let's see how that sounds.
Back down into who his character was supposed to be at the beginning, the teenager who's just got puppy dog eyes at the master. Well, also him. That's part of the story arc.
Okay, here's a little breath I'm going to take out. But yeah, we're back to Adric's excitement in the Master's Web for a second here. You know, sometimes when there's a little slip, like Diana's done here, we all have a good laugh about it and it stays in. Because it's funny, and I think, you know, we're all laughing along together with it.
Guys at the master. Well, also him. Guys at the master. Well, also him.
Let's take out some of those extra breaths.
That's part of the story arc. But puppy.
Okay, here we go. And okay, so Riley's talking over Diana a little, so I'm just going to minimize that, but I think that oh boy is kind of necessary.
That's part of the story arc. But Puppy Dog Eye's at the doctor and just wants, just that he wants that, he wants that notice me senpai. And just wants, just that he wants that notice me senpai.
All right. So again, we're just going to make this a smidge more fluent. Cut that out.
Doctor and just wants that notice me senpai moment. And
there we go. That sounds a lot better. So if you're watching or listening to this for the first time, you're starting to realize we are not nearly as fluent as we sound in our final polished product. You really are getting the behind the scenes and the raw and dirty recording and how we actually make it sound fluent and good here.
And when he finally gets it, he dies in this.
Okay, let's pull that back.
He gets it. He dies in this overly melodramatic way that.
All right. So again, I can tell. I'm just gonna bring a bit more fluency into the rhythm of Diana's speech here.
Melodramatic way that was also so poignant when he's sitting there just holding.
Okay. When there's a little stutter here. I'm gonna see if I can clean this up.
So he's sitting there just holding. When he's sitting there.
So the fun thing about editing and going over people's voices with a fine-tooth comb like this is you start to hear where people's accents kind of give them away a little. And Diana, I think if you've listened to our show for long enough, you probably know Diana lives in Texas, but she is originally, I know she'll correct me in the chat if I'm wrong, originally from South Carolina. And I believe from previous conversations, if I'm remembering them correctly, Diana puts a lot of work into not having a deep southern accent, but here she says sittin', which gives the game away a little. It's like when occasionally I'm editing myself and I hear a little bit of my father's Welsh accent come through. It happens very, very occasionally. Or, because I've lived in the States for 15 years now, when I hear a little bit of an American twang on my accent, which I don't like. Those who know me well know that my girlfriend gave me 2 rules: don't lose the beard and don't lose the accent. So when I hear that twang, I get worried.
Was also so poignant when he's sitting there just holding his little rope belt that his dead brother gave.
Okay, so here's a little stutter, so we'll just take that out, bring that forward.
His little rope belt that his dead brother gave him. That his dead brother gave him. Golly.
Okay, I took too much out.
Dead brother gave him. Golly. It really just was. It was such a. It really just was. It was such a good.
Really just was. Okay, let's see if we can clean this up.
Such a good.
Okay, maybe. Really just was such a good.
Golly, it really just was such a good moment in the middle of everything, even though it is the death of a character. Okay,
just going to turn this up a bit. Okay, there's a here. Again, this flows into itself pretty well. I might not be able to edit this out.
Well done is well done. The death of a character, well done is well done.
Actually, that needs to have the there, because well done is well done. I don't think will work without that, So
well done is well done. And I just thought it was.
All right, take out that bring it back. Okay, let's see.
Well done is well done, and I just thought it was the emotional. I just thought it was the emotional beat that I've kind of been looking for.
Okay.
Emotional beat that I've kind of been looking for through all of this.
Cut out that breath, pull this back a bit.
Looking for through all of this. There's been real character development. Through all of this. There's been real character development, and we got it. And you could.
All right. So I'm going to try and clean this up and just make it a little more fluent.
All of this. There's been real character development.
Okay. So let's make that development flow a bit better.
Character development. And we got it. And
okay, that sounds
we
fine.
got it. And you could feel it.
All right. So we're going to keep that and.
You could feel it.
But we're going to pull that back and pull this forward. Let's see. Let's split that. Turn up the volume a bit.
Character development. And we got it. And you could feel it while you were watching it.
Okay. Let's hit the wrong button. All right, we're going to cut out that breath. Just amp up the volume
development.
elsewhere.
And we got it. And you could feel it while you were watching it. So it really was one of the best moments of the show for me.
There's another breath I'm going to pull out. Okay, so I said I was going to record for somewhere between an hour and a half and 2 hours. So what I'm going to do, just for anyone watching, is I'm going to record today I'm going to stream up until the end of this particular section, best and worst moments. Which means I'll finish Diana's piece, I'll do my own piece, and we'll probably be about 10 minutes in. This is obviously taking a bit more than usual because I'm stopping to read comments, I'm stopping to chat and explain what I'm doing. But let's get up to there, and then I think we'll call it a day.
Moments of the show for me. R.I.P. Adric.
Okay, here's a breath and an Let's cut that. This looks like it's probably a tongue click.
But
yep. And then, let's see, I'd like to turn up the volume here and here. And then here a bit more.
Of the show for me. R.I.P. Adric. But similarly, the worst moment was all of the Adric code switching throughout the season. The fact that they couldn't nail down.
Okay, there's a pause there that I'm going to take out. Okay.
The fact that they couldn't nail down if is he going to be a little. If is he going to be.
Okay, again, a little bit of a stutter. Let's take that out.
Down. Is he going to be a little.
Didn't quite take all of it out. Let's bring that back.
Down. Is he going to be a little bitch?
Oh, now, if we could get away with the word bitch in our episode title, which I don't think Apple and Podbean and all the other places we do would let us, I think Is He Gonna Be a Little Bitch would be a great episode title.
Down. Is he going to be a little bitch? Or.
Okay. Julie's laughing here, and that's. Diana paused to let her finish. I think that sounds a bit unnatural, so I'm going to bring this back and let Diana speak over Julie's laughing. And let's see how that sounds.
A little bitch? Or is he an innocent.
Yeah, that sounds a bit more natural. It's interesting how people's speech naturally doesn't necessarily sound natural when you actually put it in a recording and you're listening to it. I think we've got so used to people speaking with certain cadences through TV and film and radio because they do it professionally, that when you have people like us doing this as a podcast, we kind of need to edit it to make it sound more fluent, even though this is how we would actually speak to each other in conversation.
Or is he an innocent little teenager that doesn't know what he's doing, but has a real good math brain? And they kept oscillating. And they kept.
Okay, I'm going to take that out. Let's just fade that in so it cuts the rest of that
good
out.
Math brain. And they kept oscillating between the two.
There's a little pause there. I'm going to take
that out.
They
kept oscillating between the two and flip-flopping back and forth in a way that made it.
Okay, let's just take out
back
some
and forth in a way
pauses.
that made it so that you couldn't hate.
Okay. So I'm going to keep this pause in because this is a fairly long stretch where there isn't one, so there needs to be the impression there's been a breath somewhere in there. Again, it's about trying to make it sound kind of natural, even if it's not fully natural.
Made it so that you couldn't hate or root for him, whichever way you fall.
Okay. And there we go.
For him, whichever way you fall with Adric, because there were some nice parts, and then, they make you fall with Adric because.
Okay, let's see if I can make that a bit more fluent as well.
whichever way you fall with Adric, because there were some nice parts, and then, you know, they make you feel all sad at the
Here's a you know, so let's try and pull that out.
parts, and then they make you feel all sad at the end. But then
Okay, yep, there we go. Let's move that up a little bit, increase the volume. Okay,
with Adric, because there were some nice parts, and then they make you feel all sad at the end. But then he was a little bitch to Tegan and Nessa.
all right.
But then he was a little bitch to Tegan and Nessa. Tegan and Nessa. Bitch to Tegan and
Okay, so again, a little bit of a stutter here. We're just going to pull that back, remove that.
Then he was a little bitch to Tegan and Nissa so many times. You know, it
Okay, we're going to take out that you know.
Tegan and Nissa so many times.
Okay, there's a stutter on Nissa.
Nissa so many. Nissa.
Okay, let's see if we can make that sound natural.
Bitch to Tegan and Nissa so many
There we go,
times.
That's close enough. Maybe like that.
Bitch to Tegan and Nissa so many
There we
times.
go.
It was, that part was awful
Okay, and then
so many times. That part was awful. But also the personal
okay, breath and we'll cut that out. Pull this together.
part
a bit.
was awful. But also the personal worst part was the
Okay, take out that breath and that
but also the personal worst part was the word I don't like time. As I was reading through
So I'm going to apologize to Diana, but just in case anyone doesn't remember what that word is, it's flesh time.
as I was reading through my notes, as I was reading through
There we go. All right, let's bring that down.
as I was reading through my notes, I was like, chest flap. Oh God. Like it just
No context watches.
chest flap. Oh God. Like
Chest flap, oh god. That might be the episode title. Chest flap, ... Oh god.
flap. Oh God. Like it just like all of like all it just like all of that the weird body horror of this season, like all of that the weird body horror,
All right, so hang on.
like it just like all of that
All right. So you can kind of hear Diana stuttering a bit here. So I'm going to do what I can to clean this up, and I'm thinking, let's see.
the weird body horror of this season, all of that the weird body horror, like all of that chest flap. Oh God.
So I think
Like all of that like it just like
all right. So we're going to cut that.
all of that the weird body horror.
Okay, and then here we're going to pull this back. So we start with the weird body humor, pull this backwards. Let's see.
All of that the weird body horror of this season, where it was the mucus drowning and the skin and like all of it. Ugh, no thank you.
The temptation
Gross.
to the temptation
Gross.
to actually say it right now is insane, but I'm not going to.
Look, do you know how mad I am?
do.
Look, do you know how
All right. So I didn't say it in the podcast episode. I was being nice to Diana, but here I couldn't quite resist it while actually editing.
Look, do you know how mad I am at how mad I am?
Let's see if we can clean that up.
Look, do you know how mad I am at the three of you?
Okay, I've got a click there.
Do.
Look, do you know how mad I am at
So mad. Let's see if I can clean that up. So Diana's getting passionate here. which is
mad I
good.
am at?
But I want to make her sound really fluent. So let's see.
Look, do you know how mad I am at the three of you?
Okay.
How mad I am at three of you and
Okay, I accidentally cut out the that was in there.
the three of you.
Okay. Yeah, Diana, love that passion. I see you in the chat. I was 100% speaking from my soul here. Yes.
How mad I am
Love it.
at the three of you and all of you listening because
Okay, let me...
this word appears so much
All right, let's see.
because this word appears so much more in my this word appears so much more in my head now, and I am so mad.
Sorry. Well,
Not
that
sorry.
brings... Not sorry.
All right, so I'm going to mute myself there. Just, again, want to make this flow a bit better.
Not sorry.
Not sorry.
That's right, listeners. If you find us,
Okay, so again, I'm going to silence myself here so Riley gets the floor.
that's right, listeners.
Okay.
That's right, listeners. If you find us at DragonCon and say those words, I will buy you a drink.
Incidentally, we're about to announce this on our socials. If anyone listening is going to DragonCon, we actually have the honor of doing a live podcast from DragonCon this year that we'll be doing in collaboration with the Digital Media Track. So we'll be putting out details on that on our Facebook, on our Instagram, and on our Discord in due course. But we're very, very excited. It's going to be the first time that all 4 of our current cast members are in the same place and at the same time together, which is going to be awesome.
Made of my tears.
Okay. All right, so this isn't quite working. I'm trying to speak, Diana's trying to speak, and eventually she gets the words in. So let me just clean this up a bit. You can tell this is audible breathing from me. Turn ripple editing back on, pull this back.
Made of my tears.
You're going to be buying a lot of drinks, Riley.
Incidentally, if you find Riley and say it, make sure he buys you one of the nicer cocktails from Trader Vic's.
You're going to be buying a lot of drinks, Riley. All right, so I'm
going to cut out this all right. Again, it's a filler word.
So my picks for this are as the best moment.
Okay. Again, let's just clean this up.
My picks for this are the best moment.
Okay. Let's see.
As the best moment.
There we go. All right, so cut out my own stutter there. Just done a
For
little.
this are as the best moment. Candidly, it's Adric's death, not.
All right, so Diana says, if you say it to me, you have to buy me a drink. So Riley was offering to buy drinks for people who go up to Diana and say it. Diana's going to make them buy her a drink. Does this just mean that Riley's going to be buying Diana drinks? That's how it sounds. Does that seem logical?
Candidly, it's Adric's death, not because I'm gleeful that Adric's dead.
A little bit of a weird pause there. Let's pull that out.
Candidly, it's Adric's death, not because I'm gleeful that Adric's dead. It's not I'm happy, but it...
Let's just turn up the volume a little here.
Gleeful that Adric's dead. It's not I'm happy, but it was... But it was something where there was tension built up. Where there was tension built up.
Okay, that edit didn't quite work. Let me just pull it back a bit.
Where there was tension built up. It was sort of foreshadowed.
So since this recording, I've played with the settings a little on my rig, and I'm hoping these weird cutouts that you're hearing on S's and T's will be better, really starting with Snake Dance. But I will listen to that in the next few days, and before we record on Mordrin Undead, play with it a little more.
It was sort of foreshadowed, but it was foreshadowed in a way that it felt like he was going to leave at the end of the story. It was sort of
Okay, again, I want to bump up some volumes here, because this is looking a little low. Wrong button, wrong place. Okay, let's try. Wrong button again. There we go. Third time lucky.
Foreshadowed, but it was foreshadowed in a way that it felt like he was going to leave at the end of the story. Not that he was going to be smashed into... he was going to be smashed into Earth to be smashed into to, cause Earth to, cause the dinosaurs to go.
Okay. All right. Let's see.
Earth to cause the dinosaurs to go extinct. And no.
Here's an Let's cut. One second. I'll be right back. I hear a dog barking and need to make sure that the little one is not getting in a fight with the big one. I'm back with a friend. This is Pinky. She is the oldest of my girlfriend's dogs. She was standing at the top of the stairs barking for no reason, probably because we are alone in the house and she wants some human attention. So,
actually, I would say there's a lot of pathos there.
Okay, here's another. Oh, didn't mean to do that. Okay, let me re-expand these.
Actually, I would say there's a lot of pathos there. People have criticized.
Okay, there's an there's a We're starting to get the holy grails of stutters in this one. Okay, pull that back.
Actually, I would say there's a lot of pathos there. People have criticized the fact that the credits were run silently, but I think it's effective, and if you don't like it, fight me.
Okay, so here I am challenging our listeners to a fight. That's always fun, isn't it? Okay.
But I think it's effective, and if you don't like it, fight me.
Let's take out the and
it's effective, and if you don't like it, fight me.
There we go.
And if you don't like it, fight me.
I mean, it was very because I had seen Game. I mean, it was very.
Okay, here's an that I'm going to keep in, but because Julie kind of changes what she's going to say, I'm going to cut out the in-between bit.
I mean, because I had seen Game of Thrones beforehand, it was very reminiscent of the Red Wedding credits.
Yeah.
And I.
Kieran, pistols or swords at dawn. We're going bare knuckles, my friend. This is going to be, Greek style wrestling. Eye gouging is allowed in this case. Okay.
Credits, and I think that is very telling because you just saw.
Here's a breath. Okay, let's see.
Just saw something horrific, and what else are you going to do?
All right, let's see.
And what else are you going to do other than just be like, what just happened?
Oh, Kieran, go for the... I love it. Apparently, Twitch censors, so I can guess what those 4 asterisks are.
What just happened?
Yep.
And silence is better for that.
Okay, let's see.
And silence is better for that.
It was the credit scene that.
All right, so let's mute me there.
It
Give
was
them
the
the
credit scene that got
opportunity
my tear to come out.
Yeah.
All right,
Come out.
the credits making Diana...
Proof Diana has emotions.
There you go.
Oh no! Don't tell anyone.
Emotions.
Oh no, don't tell anyone.
But
All right. So we have proof Diana has emotions.
but you know, and I think the fact that they did so.
All right. So bunch of filler words here. So
I think the fact that they did. And I think the fact that they did. You know, and I think the fact. You know, and I think the fact that they.
Trying to get rid of the without anything.
And I
else.
think the fact that they did.
Let's see. Let's try that.
And I think the fact
There
that
we
they
go.
and I think the fact that they did.
A little bit more of a break there.
And I think the fact that they did so much to hide that by ensuring he had a.
Okay.
Much to hide that by ensuring he had a cameo in Time Flight. So.
Okay.
In Time Flight, so that he would be in the Radio Times listings, thus
Gonna take out that affirmation and I think that one too.
Times listings, thus making sure people wouldn't know that was that was coming. Wouldn't know that was that was coming. That was coming.
All right. Gonna try and take out this stutter. Let's see how this
Thus
sounds.
making sure people wouldn't know that was coming. That was really
Okay, yeah, that's good enough.
know that was coming. That was really smart. And that I think smart. And that I think if I was a viewer at the time would have made that all the more impactful. As for worst moment, we've all 2 out of 3 of us so far have picked something from Time Flight, and I'm going to have to jump. 2 out of 3 of us so far have picked something from Time Flight, and I'm going to have to jump on the Time Flight bandwagon here. But
Okay. Again, trying to make the sound a little more fluent. So, let's see, where's this dog going? Okay, she's going to hang out at my feet.
I can hear. But for me, it's not Khalid. The appearance of the plasma.
All right. So,
But for me, it's not Khalid. It's the appearance of the plasmatons. But for me, it's not Khalid. It's the appearance of the plasmatons.
needs a little bit more of a break.
But for me, it's not Khalid. It's the appearance of the plasmatons.
Okay.
Appearance of the plasmatons. Monsters that were so badly designed.
Okay, let's tone everyone else down because it's drowning what I'm saying out when you're getting laughter and stuff like that. And let's see.
Monsters that were so badly designed, they couldn't move.
All right.
And they couldn't move. Monsters that were so...
Okay, here is a sound, and again, we all get these on our vocal tracks. If someone's putting down their water or what have you, it's going to make a noise. Nice thing about recording separate vocal tracks is we can just mute it.
Couldn't move. Monsters that were so badly designed, they barely featured. And they barely featured. And they did
Okay, let's see.
They barely featured. And they did everything they could. And they did everything they could to minimize their appearance. I still don't entirely know what the plasmatons were for. I don't know what they were.
We've got some breathing here. Let's take that out.
Were for. I don't know what they were meant.
Let's just elongate that gap a little, make it sound more
Were
natural.
for. I don't know what they were meant to do. All I know is they
And then we'll do the same here. Nice little
meant
gap.
to do. All I know is they occasionally appeared surrounding someone with superimposed bubbles and then profit?
And then profit? Question mark. Okay.
And then profit? They're really bad, guys. They're really, really bad. All right. And then next up, we are...
Okay. So we have hit up to where I'm going to go for today. Now, because I am trying to fix Arc of Infinity, what's actually going to happen is I've edited 12 minutes of this, and I'm going to be handing this one off to Julie for the rest. Now, I think you all saw at the beginning we started at an hour and 33 minutes. That came down to an hour and 23, and we're at an hour 21 and a half. So we've cut out about a minute and a half in the first 12 minutes. So if I had to guess, this episode's runtime is likely to end up somewhere in the range of probably an hour and 15, an hour 10 to hour and 15 in total. But we'll see how much of this Julie slices and dices. So let me save this, and then what I will say, let me just maximize myself for a second here. Thank you to everyone who tuned in as I've been doing some live editing. This is something I've wanted to do for a while, and I hope in giving you really a sense of how we actually go about making the show, as well as a little bit of a sneak peek at what we're doing for season 19's retrospective, that this has been interesting and informative. So as always, thank you so much for listening in, for checking us out, and until next time, as always, have a good one.